Buckle up, everybody, because we got to talk about an awesome SummerSlam, SummerSlam 2005. But before we do, friendly reminder, Blue Chew wants to sponsor your SummerSlam. If you don't want your partner to leave you, become the rated R superstar and get yourself some Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the chewable tablet that helps you have better sex. For more information, make sure to check out the link in the description box below. All right, I'm so stoked to talk about this episode because there's a whole lot to get into. Lots of highlights, lots of storylines, lots of matches. So let's get to it. I want to kick things off with Edge versus Matt Hardy. So back at SummerSlam 2004, I had been talking about Lita and Kate and Matt Hardy, and I had mentioned, like, man, they really made Matt Hardy look really awful in all of these storylines. I felt like they booked him really, really soft in these storylines. Like, first, he wasn't able to save the love of his life, Lita, with Kane. And then now, unfortunately, this real life story where Lita ends up having an affair with Edge in real life, and she cheats on her boyfriend of 6 years, Matt Hardy. This is complicated, guys, because they, as we all know, ended up doing that story for the whole world to see. The whole world. And first of all, I want to start off by saying kudos to all of them for choosing to do this story, because can you imagine how uncomfortable that must have been for everybody involved? For the person who was cheated on and is hurt, for the person who did the cheating, and then for the person who was also there that also was part of the cheating. It's just uncomfortable all around. So the fact that they went out there and did this story for everyone in front of the whole world, we do got to give them kudos for that, man, because damn, that is awkward. So I didn't remember why I was not rooting for Matt Hardy in the storyline. I know. I was rooting for the heels, guys. I know. And the reason why I was rooting for the heels back in the day was primarily because, again, they made Matt Hardy just look like a wimp in all of this. And I hated that. Like, even in this matchup, they had Edge essentially beat him as a bloody pope, and then the referee ended up stopping the match because it was just too much. And as I was watching this, I was thinking, man, they really booked Matt Hardy like this after what he had been through. They really did this to Matt Hardy. He couldn't even get like a shining moment during this. Like, why? Now, I don't even remember how the rest of the story ended. I know we had the live sex celebration, which, God, I have very few memories of that. And I think part of the reason is I never really cared to go back and relive that memory because all I can think about when I think about the live sex celebration was watching that with my uncle who got me into wrestling and not really knowing how to react. I was like, oh, this is awkward. It's like watching a movie with your parents and then there being a kissing scene and you're like, oh, what do I do? Like, ugh. That's exactly what it felt like. So I I was not able to really enjoy any of that whatsoever. And then I did become a big rated R superstar fan, but I became a big rated R superstar fan just because Edge was associated with Lita, and I was a fan of Lita, and I was a fan of whoever she associated with. So that's kind of how I made my decisions back then. But yeah, watching it now, I just thought, man, they really did Matt Hardy dirty in this. Alrighty, and this next storyline that I cannot wait to talk about. Oh, I love it. I actually love the story, and I absolutely loved the match. And it is Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio in a ladder match for the custody of Dominik. So, my thoughts when I was watching this as a young kid, I was scared. I was honestly scared. I was scared for Dominik. Because think about it, guys. Put yourself in that like age group. Put yourself as a young kid. Put yourself in a scenario where someone wants to take you away from your parent. Can you imagine someone going out there and being like, I'm your real dad, when you've loved and cared for your real dad your whole life? That's terrifying. And so I remember being scared for Dominik because it was like someone wanted to take him. And I remember like sympathizing with Dominik and thinking about that. Like as a kid, I thought I would never want that to happen. Like I don't want no one to take me from my mom. I kept thinking to myself, Rey Mysterio went through all of this, all of the crazy bumps, all of the pain, all of everything that went down in the storyline so that Dominik Mysterio could grow up and call him a deadbeat father. Think about that. Think about that. If you don't remember, go back and watch this match. Go back and look at everything Rey Mysterio did for his son Dominik, just so they could be together again as father and son. And Dominik goes on to call him a deadbeat dad and fights his own father. It's even worse now. I mean, I already knew this, but God, I hadn't seen this in years. I'd forgotten all of this. And then it's kind of awkward too because I'm watching Dominik as a little kid, and at the exact same time, I'm watching him get grinded upon by Liv Morgan and getting him, having him, in this, I don't even know what you want to call it, this relationship with him and Rhea Ripley. He's out there having lady trouble. Like this little kid with his little blonde hair and his little cheeks, crying for his dad with his little boy voice, is now having women trouble on the exact same show. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, guys. It's just so funny. But the storyline itself, man, it's freaking crazy as hell, man. And they did so good with it. They really, truly did so good with it. But let's talk about the matchup, though, because this shit was freaking nuts. And it's funny because I had remembered the storyline a whole lot, but I didn't really remember the match a lot. So I really got caught up in this match while I was watching it because I had forgotten so much that happened in it. Like I didn't remember a lot of the physicality, a lot of the big spots. I didn't remember them when I was watching. So I got excited. It was like watching it for the first time all over again. There was an awesome back body drop from Rey to Eddie Guerrero, from one ladder to another ladder. It was absolutely insane. At one point, we see Dominik Mysterio run in and he tries to shake the ladder while Eddie is about to win. And then Eddie starts like yelling at him and screaming at him, saying he's going to be his new dad, and then almost hits him. But of course, Rey Mysterio puts a stop to that. We see Rey hit Eddie with a 619 with the use of the ladder. We see him do a springboard leg drop with the ladder on Eddie Guerrero. We see Rey powerbomb Eddie off of the ladder. And it's funny too because I feel like we're always laughing about this storyline and making jokes about Eddie Guerrero being Dominik's real dad. But at the same time, we need to talk more about how freaking great this match was. I feel like maybe, I don't know if that's been forgotten or maybe not forgotten. I don't know. I know I kind of forgot. So I'm just here to remind those that maybe forgot. For the finish, we end up seeing Vicky Guerrero come out and she stops Eddie. So she's the babyface in this because she realized that Eddie wasn't doing it for Dominik. He was doing it for his own selfish needs of just wanting to beat Rey Mysterio and destroy the Mysterio family. So she shoves Eddie off the ladder. And then again, she yanks Eddie away and Rey climbs up the ladder and gets the briefcase and wins. This was freaking phenomenal. The story, the emotion, all of it, the match, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful SummerSlam moment and match here. And then getting to see, of course, all the Mysterios reunite, blah, blah, blah. This was awesome. And another highlight that I need to get into is The Undertaker versus Randy Orton. And the reason I specifically want to talk about this is because in previous videos, I have noted that I haven't been a big fan of The Undertaker's SummerSlam matches, aside from the one that he had in 1998 with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Well, you can put that one in the books as one that I liked, and you can add this one here with Randy Orton as one that I liked because, like I said previously, it feels like some of Undertaker's matches, they're really only good if he's in there with a really great or good entertaining worker, and he was in there with Austin. It kicked ass. He was in here with Randy Orton, and this was a way better match than a lot of the other ones that I had been seeing. So I was happy to see another good SummerSlam Undertaker matchup here. And this next highlight that I want to talk about, I'm really excited about this one, John Cena versus Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship. This match was so much fun because the crowd really got into it. You had people that were either for John Cena or rooting for Chris Jericho. This crowd was split. And as many of you guys know, I didn't grow up a John Cena fan. I just wasn't one of those. But I sure as hell was a Jerichoholic. So you definitely know who I was rooting for in this matchup here. So I was heavily invested. I remember when Jericho got John Cena in the walls of Jericho and just the anticipation from the crowd, the pop from the crowd, because they thought, oh my God, like this is it. He's going to tap, but he doesn't. He gets to the ropes. And so this whole entire time, there's this anticipation of who is going to be the guy, who is going to win right now, because again, that crowd was split. John Cena hits the FU on Chris Jericho, and it's this massive moment when he gets the 1, the 2, the 3, and oh my God. It swept me away even watching it again. But it's funny because, again, when I watched it the first time, I was far more passionate. This time I was just like trying to remember how things happened and what actually happened. So, totally different experiences watching it the first time and the second time around. We had Batista versus John Bradshaw Layfield in a no holds barred match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And the good thing about this match is that they got right into it right away. There was no waiting around for the action to begin. And they kind of had to do this because they were following a lot of good matches, especially that John Cena Chris Jericho match that went on right before them. They really had the crowd at the palm of their hands. So you didn't want to get the crowd to be tired at all. So Batista and JBL did do a good job of going in there and keeping the crowd engaged. This was a very quick victory for Batista. He power bombed JBL into the steel steps for the victory. And the last highlight that we need to get into is the icon versus the legend. We had Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. You guys know the drill here. Shawn Michaels beat the living hell out of Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan is bloodied as all hell. And even though Shawn Michaels had done just about everything to him, had dominated him so much, hit him with the chair, hit him with the elbow drop, hit him with the sweet chin music, of course, all of a sudden, through all of that, Hulk Hogan kicks out of the sweet chin music, and out of nowhere, he has more energy than you've ever seen before. So here's the thing. Growing up, I was a Hulk maniac. I always got into the matches because of the story. The story was the same always, right? But I didn't realize that when I was watching those matches because so much time had gone by. But when I rewatched the WrestleMania matches for Hogan and I saw them back to back, I realized I was seeing the exact same match play out before my eyes, and I had never realized it before that. So now I feel like that kind of ruined it for me, where now I go back and watch Hogan matches and I'm like, why am I even getting into it if I already know what I'm going to expect? So I feel like Hogan matches were great for me in the moment when I watched them for the first time, but rewatching them, I haven't been able to get into them like I did the very first time. Hogan wins. They shake hands. And if you guys noticed throughout this entire match, Shawn Michaels was selling a whole lot. In fact, he was overselling for Hulk Hogan. And apparently this was done on purpose to make Hulk Hogan look bad, because I guess Hulk Hogan came in and had plans changed from what they had originally planned. And so he busted a hole. That doesn't work for me, brother. Who knows what the politics were behind the scenes, but that is what we got unfolded here at SummerSlam 2005. Best match of the night, I am 1000% giving it to Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero in the ladder match for the custody of Dominik. Worst match, I have to give it to Kurt Angle and Eugene, only because that's the one I enjoyed the least. MVP, I have to give it to Eddie Guerrero for the tremendous work that he did in this storyline with Dominik and Rey, and then also the incredible work that we saw in the matchup itself. And as for the rating of the show, because I absolutely loved Rey versus Eddie, John Cena versus Jericho, and I had a good time with The Undertaker versus Randy, and I had a good time with Batista versus JBL, and Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan was fine. I have to give the show a rating of 13 out of 13. So there you go. That is the third show in the SummerSlam Rewind from 1988 through 2005 that has already gotten a perfect rating here on the SummerSlam Rewind. Let me know how you guys felt about SummerSlam 2005 in the comments section below. Did you guys enjoy it as much as I did? Let me know. And I'll catch you guys back here for the next vid here in the SummerSlam Rewind.